Hey, here we go. Here we go. Had to jump the camera into the stream real quickly. Thank you guys for being here. My name's Scott, your host for the Teal Shirt Report podcast. I should have said last time, episode show number 53. So this is going to be 53A. 53 is an interesting number. The love bug, right? Remember the old movie? The love bug was number 53. Who wore 53 for the Miami Dolphins when they kind of coined their 53 defense? I believe that was Bob Matheson. He was the first guy that, like linebacker, that started dropping into coverage. The Dolphins had another good linebacker, Nick Bonacani, and had some great players. A no-name defense, a 53 defense with the Miami Dolphins. This is episode show number 53A because we did one earlier. We did put it up on the platforms, or the audio platforms, and you go to bigjreport.com. I'm still figuring everything out technically, but you can find our audio podcast on the website at bigjreport.com. Special thanks to everyone help sponsor this podcast. Social Realty and Capital, the madmaxmix.weebly.com, LakeUpallahits.com, great internet radio where it's all good. Special thanks to JC live from the pub on Thursday nights. MadMaxMix.weebly.com. Mad Max has a great show on Wednesday nights at MadMaxMix.weebly.com. Hope I got that right. There's links on our website, by the way, in the Neighbors 2 section and the outside the box section for Mad Max's show. We're gonna kind of go into taking a look at some games. There's more games than meets the eye, though. But I get involved in this little football pool, which includes a handful of college games and most all the NFL games. I'm already one down. I mean, I picked Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is winning this game, and they got this thing won for me by the spread, and then the game goes to overtime. When the game goes to overtime, all bets are off, it seems like, right? Because somebody can kick a field goal and win a game in the NFL, can even end up tied. The team can score a touchdown, the other team doesn't score, and then the point spread. Whoever wins the game, they win by 6 points, and that'll win you the spread in a lot of these close games. And that's what happened. The Atlanta Falcons, somehow, some way, with old Kirk Cousins. I heard a guy walking down the sidewalk said he was betting on Kirk Cousins getting so many yards, so much yardage in that game. I think he won that particular bet wherever he made the bet at. So the Atlanta Falcons somehow, some way at home got the win over Tampa 36-30. I'm going to tell you something about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let me give you that score again. Because we get these digital oops, boops, blurps, and sometimes the volume will cut out, and I've noticed that, and we'll work on that situation. So let me talk slowly and give you that score to make sure we don't digitally blurp out. Because sometimes if I talk too fast, I think the digital doesn't keep up with the, how quickly I'm saying this and that. But the Atlanta Falcons won at home. 36-30, the game went overtime. And it's probably for the fans, it's probably one of the best games it's been in a while on Thursday night. So many points, 66 total points scored in that game. And when you look at the over-under for that game, it was like 43.5. So that 43.5 out the window was 66 points. Everybody that played over, they're winners. You took the Falcons, the Falcons were favored by 1.5. I took Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I'm nothing against Tampa Bay or their fans, of course, I'm a Jaguars guy. And and this Jacksonville's my hometown, and it always has been. I was born here. I remember going into a hospital one time at St. Vincent's, and they said, "Hey, you ever been here before?" I said, "Hey, I was born here. Come on in." Okay. So I think I grew up in a great era in life, the 1970s, 1980s. Great time to be a kid, great time to grow up, great time to grow into being an adult. The Atlanta Falcons beat Tampa Bay. The Atlanta Falcons 36, Tampa Bay 30. Final score in overtime. That was a Thursday night game a couple of days ago, back on, what was it, October 3rd. And I'll be honest with you, I picked Tampa Bay, and that's even after the game was played. I did pick Tampa Bay. I normally do my picks in this little football pool I try to get mine in earlier than everybody else, and sometimes that puts me at a disadvantage. I picked Tampa Bay on Wednesday. The game was Thursday night. Okay, so we'll give you some, today's Saturday. What is today? Saturday, October the 5th. We'll give you some college games. I've got one that's interesting here. Missouri at Texas A&M. I've never been on the Missouri bandwagon, even though they had a great year. I think they went 9-3 last year, and they kept winning. When I thought they'd lose, they kept winning. Drinkwater or Drinkwitz, what's the coach's name at Missouri? I've never been on board with this guy. I've seen this guy's name even mentioned in association with possibly being the future head football coach at Florida. He was mentioned as one of the candidates, along with Lane Kiffin and Jed Fish at Washington. Jed Fish got beat by – who was that beat Washington a little over a week ago? Or a week ago. I think that was a Friday night game, so it was a little over a week ago. Washington got beat. And, they got beat by Rutgers. That's who it was. Washington didn't score many points against Rutgers, and I think that doesn't bode well toward Fish being the head coach at Florida, although he's got Florida ties. Interesting the way he started his coaching career. He knows Steve Spurrier pretty well. So I think Jed Fish could be a future candidate. Lane Kiffin's probably the leading candidate if you're going to go out and hire a new coach, even though Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss lost to Kentucky about a week ago, or a little over a week ago now. So I don't know what to tell you about the situation. Is Billy Napier can be the coach. He is the coach now, but he got to win. Napier beats UCF, can find a way to beat Kentucky, and somehow shock Georgia here in the Big J, here in Jacksonville. And he's got a chance to survive. He's also got a chance. Those 3 games I mentioned, he might go 1-2 in those 3, and that will not be good enough. It will not be good enough. Taking a look at the games coming up this week, college football. There's a bunch of games. I'm only going to give you the games in the pool right now. Missouri at Texas A&M. Texas A&M's ranked 25th. Missouri 9th. I'm going to take Texas A&M to win that game, cover the 2.5 points, and that would be kind of an upset, right? Because Missouri's ranked 9th. Missouri got taken to the hilt by Vandy, and I think they won in overtime, just barely outlasted Vandy. Missouri doesn't have their starting left tackle from last year, who's now with the Jaguars. I guess he's on the bench with the Jaguars now, playing behind Cam Robinson. I don't have a lot of faith in Trent Baalke's draft picks, and all I can tell you is that's got to be Shotgun's first move if he makes a big move. I'm not saying I don't think firing the coach is the answer. I think it's got to go higher than that because of these draft picks, these long bleeping contracts. And half these guys aren't even playing right now. They're just making easy money. They're not even playing. They're injured. Well, I understand that, but it's part of the game. Got to be on the field. That's what my executive producer, JC, the old copy boy, would say. I'm going to take Texas A&M. Now, these picks are all before kickoff. Texas A&M, I'm going to take them at home over Missouri. That's probably considered a mild upset, even though Texas A&M is a 2.5 point favorite. I'll take Texas A&M to cover, win the game by 3 or 4 points. Ole Miss, after losing to Kentucky, I think they'll take out their frustrations against South Carolina on the road, and I think they cover the 9 points and win by a couple of touchdowns. I could be wrong on that, but I'm going to take Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's got a way of playing good early in the year, and then by the end of the year, I've seen Ole Miss kind of run out of gas. Once you get to game, 9, 10, 11, 12, some of Lane Kiffin's a couple of years, I think at least a couple of years, Lane Kiffin's teams have started out great, then run out of gas at the end. Do you want to hire that guy? Do you want to hire Lane Kiffin, a guy that, it looks like his team's kind of run out of gas toward the end of the year? I want to give Billy Napier every benefit of the doubt, and that's probably a mistake on my part. Let's see what happens in the UCF game. I'm going to take Florida to at least get within the 2.5 points. Now, when I did the poll on Wednesday, I picked these games on Wednesday. I took Florida to get under the 2.5 points, and now I think it's actually maybe 1 or 1.5. So there is some money going on in Florida before kickoff. The Miami or Florida Hurricanes are favored by 10.5 over California. And I'm not saying California is going to win the game, but I think they may. The point spread, I think, is too high on this one. Miami's favored by 10.5 at California. California is a new ACC team. So in these particular games, what do we got here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 college games. I'm taking Texas A&M. I'm taking Ole Miss, Florida State. I'm gonna take Florida State to at least get under the 14.5 Clemson's favored by. I think Florida State loses this game by 7 to 10 points, and Florida State gets under. In other words, Clemson doesn't cover the 14.5 in tally. Now, if Clemson blows them out by 3 touchdowns, that's going to be highly disappointing for Mike Norvell, Coach Mike Norvell. What would that be, like his 5th loss of the year or something like that? It's this is a game which, Florida State, they had big expectations this year. However, they lost all our players to the NFL, yada, yada, yada. We don't want to hear excuses, right? That's the fan bases, all the fan bases. They want to win every week. They want to blow the teams out, but it doesn't always happen that way. But in this instance, I think Norvell will get under the 14.5, and they lose to Clemson maybe by 7 to 10 points. Washington and Michigan. These are a couple of teams that have really good programs, but I think they're having down years. They're not as strong as usual. I don't see it's going to be hard for Jed Fish to go to another job just taking this job. I think Jed Fish could be a candidate at Florida 2 or 3 years down the road, probably would be more likely if he can get things really going at Washington. I'm going to take Washington to cover the 2.5 points they're favored by. They are at home in Seattle. Michigan's ranked 10th. Washington is not ranked, but I'm going to take Washington to play a good game. And they're actually favored by 2.5 points at home. I think Washington kicks a field goal and wins by 3 and covers the spread. UCF at Florida, this is a must win to continue to coach for Billy Napier, probably. UCF, when the pool came out, UCF was a 2.5 point favorite. Now it's like down to 1.5, but I like it even better because when I picked the game, UCF was favored by more. I'm going to take Florida. I think Florida wins in an even up kind of game. Billy Napier needs a 7-point win against UCF in the worst way. I'm going to take Florida to cover. And UCF, when I did the poll, it was 2.5 points. UCF is favored by, I think now they're favored by maybe a point and a half in most circles. I'm going to take California to at least beat the spread. Miami may win the game, but California, they're an interesting team. They beat Auburn by 7 points earlier in the year. I'm going to take the California Golden Bears, new to the ACC. And this is some travel. Think about this now. Miami's going out to play at California. This is an ACC game, right? So those are my picks. I'm taking Cal. This is all spread picks. Some of these teams will cover. Some of these teams won't win, but they'll get within the points. You know how that works. I'm going to take California, Florida, Washington, Florida State, Ole Miss to get back on the beam, and Texas A&M. Arkansas game is not on here. I believe they play Tennessee, and keep an eye on Arkansas. I'm not picking that game, but I tell you what, Arkansas may give Tennessee everything they want, and that could be an interesting game. Keep an eye on Arkansas and Tennessee. I think Arkansas's got a shot at getting close, maybe pulling an upset. Remember where you heard it. NFL games, I took Tampa Bay. I came up short on that one. Atlanta beat Tampa Bay on Thursday night. The Atlanta Falcons 36, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 30. One Buccaneer place. You remember that address when they first got cranked up? Atlanta Falcons 36, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 30 in overtime, actually, on Thursday night, October the 3rd. I have an indelible memory, a meaningful memory, I guess I'll put it. Make sure I got the right definitions of the words here. I saw Aaron Rodgers. He took a hit when they were playing Denver last week. And he's like, oh, man, he's like trying to figure out a way to walk off the sidelines. He didn't look like he was feeling well. Aaron Rodgers went off the field. Jets really had a short to medium field goal, and they missed it. The guy had the length. The kicker for the Jets had the length, but it just moved to the right at the last minute, and Denver upset the Jets by a point. What was that game? Ugly, 10-9. Broncos beat the Jets last week. You got Aaron Rodgers playing quarterback. Something's not right with Aaron. Then he got a hit at the end, looked like he was hurt again. Sean Payton's a good coach. He figured out a way to win that game. I'm going to take the Vikings. I think the Jets may be in trouble, even though they played good a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to take the Vikings, who are playing. And the guy that plays quarterback for the Vikings used to be with the Jets. I'm going to shake my finger at this one. Aaron Donald. What's his name? Sam Darnold. I'm thinking about the guy plays defensive line. Sam Darnold. That's right. He's got an axe to grind with the Jets. He used to be there, right? Am I right on that? Let me take a look at his career before I say something I shouldn't. Take a look at Sam Darnold, because, some of these guys, I'm a Jaguars guy, so I keep up with the Jaguars first and foremost. I'm assuming Sam Darnold's got a Wikipedia. Most of them do. I think everybody's got a Wikipedia except for the coffee boy, I think. Let me see. Sam Darnold. Let's see. He's from California, playing good for Minnesota this year. Let's take a look at Sam Darnold, man. He was with the Jets, number 14. Samuel Richard Darnold, born June 5th, 1997, an American professional football quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. And he's playing good football. He used to be with the Jets. I think he's got an axe to grind. I think Minnesota's got good weapons. Jefferson, the wide receiver. This has got Minnesota victory all over it, I believe. It's at Minnesota. You know how they get those horns going. However they blow those horns up in Minnesota. It's not like the old days at Bloomington, where everybody was, when it was cold, and you could see everybody's breath. I love those Bloomington, Minnesota games. But I'm going to take Minnesota. Let's take a look at the line real quick here. Minnesota, when we did the pool, Minnesota was a 2.5-point favorite. I got Minnesota covering that 2.5 points. I'm going to take the Chicago Bears at home to cover the 3.5 points against the Panthers. Buffalo gets back right, and Buffalo beats the Houston Texans. Buffalo's a 1-point favorite. I think they cover that even on the road at Houston. Buffalo's a better team than Jacksonville. Buffalo will get it done against the Texans, I believe. They'll bounce back because they had a bad week, last week in their loss. I'm going to take Buffalo this week. I did pick against Buffalo last week. I did take Baltimore and Derrick Henry ran roughshod over Buffalo. But this week I'm taking Buffalo to win on the road at the Houston Texans. Buffalo's a 1-point favorite. I think they cover that. The Washington Commanders are a nice little story because they played a couple of good games, but I think that's about it. They're not one of the better football teams in the league, but they are improving. I think the Cleveland Browns whip them in Washington. Washington's actually a 3.5-point favorite in this game. This is an easy pick for me. I'm taking Cleveland. They lose by 3 points. They still win versus the spread. When this pool came out on Wednesday, Washington's a 3.5-point favorite over Cleveland. Basically the home field, I think, at Washington. I'm taking Cleveland in this one. Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, two ugly offensive teams, I think. Miami has a little more speed and maybe a better defense than New England. I'm taking Miami in this one. The game is in New England, but I'm going to take New England's a 1-point favorite, so I'm going to take Miami in this one. Baltimore Ravens at Cincinnati. It's kind of like a rock scissors paper kind of scenario. I think Baltimore. They looked really, really good in their win over Buffalo. They'll come down to earth against Cincinnati. Look for Burrow and his wide receivers probably have a good game. I'm going to take Cincinnati. Baltimore's a 2.5-point favorite. I'm going to take the Bengals at home in this one. Jacksonville Jaguars. My survivor pick this week. The Jacksonville Jaguars win their first game. Let's hope. Let's hope. Jacksonville Jaguars are actually they were a 2.5-point favorite when the pool came out. And then, all of a sudden, I'm looking at the line this morning. It's up to 4 points. Vegas knows something. I think they're finally going to turn the offense loose with Jacksonville. Let's see what happens. The Jaguars lose this one, and Balky, man, he's going to have a clown face on for sure. This is a must win for your Jacksonville Jaguars and general manager Trent Balky. And for Doug, too. Jacksonville in the pool when it came out, the Jags are 2.5-point favorite. Now they're a 4-point favorite, but in the pool all day long, I'll take that field goal win for the Jags. And then one of our experts says the Jags may win by 1 or 2 touchdowns. I'll take that too. But I'm going to take the Jaguars to cover the 2.5 points. Now it's up to 4 points as of today on Saturday, October the 5th. San Francisco 49ers hosting the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are too inconsistent. I'm going to take the 49ers to cover that 7.5 point. They're favored by 7.5 points when the pool came out. I'm going to take San Francisco to cover that at home. Las Vegas Raiders very up and down. Sean Payton is kind of the stabilizer. He's a good coach with Denver. Denver's a 2.5-point favorite at home. I think Denver wins this thing by 4 points. Denver's going to cover. New York Giants played a good game a couple of weeks ago, I think, but they're very inconsistent. They're not very good. Seattle is not much better, but Seattle's at home with the 12th man. And can you believe we're talking about Geno Smith? I think Seattle wins this game by 10 points at home. The Seahawks are a 6-point favorite. I'm going to take Seattle to cover the spread over the Giants. Les Snead, who's a GM for the Rams, I really like him as a future Jaguars general manager. And the only way you get him, Shad Khan, is you pick up the phone or the legalities. You might not even be able to talk to Les Snead right now because he's under contract with the Rams. You got to go get an experienced guy. He's still young enough. I think Les Snead's in his 50s. He could be the GM for the Jaguars for 10 years. And I see a Super Bowl appearance if Les Snead is a GM. He's already won a Super Bowl with the Rams. So, Shad Khan, you got to think in these terms. When you talk or have one of your people or somebody whispers to Les Snead, money is no object. Did you hear what I said? Money. All right, Les, I'm going to try to speak up here. Money is no object. That's what they have to convey to a guy like Les Snead. He's in L.A., like the top 2 or 3 markets in the whole country. Is L.A. the top market? Is it New York, Chicago, L.A.? I'm not really in favor of being in any of those places, honestly. But Les Snead is in L.A. But I got a news flash for you. He's from the South. He's from Lower Alabama. That's right. The coffee boy knows what I'm talking about. He knows Les Snead. He went to the same high school as Les Snead, for God's sakes. My goodness. That's the guy I'd go after. And I would say money. Les, money is no object. Money is no object. However, at home, maybe Snead might be thinking about another job because I think Green Bay is actually favored. I'm going to take Green Bay. I think Green Bay's playing pretty good football. I'm going to take Green Bay. Now, you'll find out about the Rams this week. They're at home, Green Bay Packers. I'm going to take Green Bay over the Rams this week, even though I really like Les Snead as a possible future candidate as a GM for the Jaguars. Dallas Cowboys and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a 2.5-point favorite. Man, Pittsburgh's got to fall on their face one of these weeks. This is the week. Dallas wins in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a 2.5-point favorite. I'm taking Dallas. Kansas City Chiefs against the Saints team that was really, really great offensively the first couple of weeks. I think they're coming down to earth now. Kansas City Chiefs cover the 5-point spread at home, and they beat the Saints by a touchdown, 7 points probably. But, the spread is 5 points. Saints and Chiefs, total points, I'm saying between the two teams, 48 points. My survivor picked the Jacksonville Jaguars to win and defeat the hapless, and they will be hapless if they lose to the Jaguars, the Colts. And Trayvon Walker, if you can't catch Joe Flacco, the guy's 40 years old. If you can't catch him, there's a problem. You got to get off those blocks. We got to see a big game from Trayvon Walker this week, and we'll see what happens. That's going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 53. Bob Matheson, 53 defense. Miami Dolphins back in the day, 1970s, decade of the 70s, particularly the early 1970s. 53 was the number of the Love Bug back in the, remember the Love Bug movies. Or whatever it was called, Herbie. Wasn't that the name of the car, Herbie, number 53? That's going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Special thanks to our sponsors, Salsa Realty and Capital, the MadMaxMix.weebly.com, Lakeview for all the hits, and JC's live from the pub show on Thursday nights. Special thanks to our producers, executive producer JC, Alex Nunnery, another producer, and our correspondent and contributor, John Gaylor. Thank you guys very, very much. I didn't get to North Florida Entertainment yet, but we'll do that the next go around because we're going to be pretty fully engaged this weekend. Those are the NFL games and some of the college games coming up this weekend. Thank you for listening to the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 53A. Thank you guys for tuning in, okay? See you soon.